So, what I'm going to talk to you about today. What are we going to talk about today? Well, I'm glad you asked. We're going to talk about aesthetics. There's a lot of different facets when it comes to training, okay? And you guys know I like to beat the whole goals thing into your head, right? It's very important to have goals and to set up for goals in a way that allows you to achieve the things that you're trying to achieve. Because I don't know about you, when I spend my time trying to do something expecting a result to happen and I get a completely different result, I'm not really happy, okay? Especially if I pour time and hours and hours and hours of learning and studying and consistency into something only to not get the thing that I wanted to get in the first place, okay? I don't know about you, but that just ruffles my jimmies just a little bit, okay? So, you got to understand what you're trying to go for, okay? And generally, when it comes to working out at Gym Chan, when it comes to working out, there's a couple of things that you got to understand. There is aesthetics, functionality, strength, and endurance. I put strength and endurance as the same thing. I guess I'll say strength and endurance. Okay? These are the three different things. Okay? And they do all bleed into each other to some extent. But generally, when you're training, you're looking for a majority of one or the other. Okay? Depending on what your goals are. It could be all three, all of the above, right? It's just a bunch of give and take. Again, with this whole balance concept that I was telling you about. So we're going to dive into the first one. Okay. So a lot of times when it comes to going into the gym, a lot of times people want that aesthetic type of training. They train for aesthetics. They train for the big biceps. They train to have those blocky 6-pack, 12-pack abs. You know, those nice back muscles, just looking good, right? And when it comes to bodybuilding competitions, that's what you do too, right? You build up yourself, you build up your muscle, you get really big, and then you cut so you can get that aesthetic look, okay? So that's what aesthetic training is generally for. It's to look good, right? And there's nothing wrong with training for the sake of looking good, right? You want to feel confident in yourself, and you want to feel good with the way you look. So GEWG, training to look good, easier, right? And generally when it comes to functional training, it's not necessarily about the aesthetics, and it is a little bit about strength and endurance, but it's just more of just trying to be a well-rounded overall individual that can do the things that they need to do every single day. And then that's another thing, right? Functional training differs from person to person, right? Maybe someone works a job where they do a lot of lifting at work, or maybe someone does a job or does a life where there's a lot of walking around and a lot of moving and a lot of maybe their neck hurts, or maybe their back, they have lower back pain and stuff like that. You can train functional training in a variety of different ways. So functional training. And then last but not least is strength and endurance training. And strength and endurance training is pretty much what it is. It's to build strength. It's to build endurance, to get stronger, or to do things for a elongated period of time, right? So you can see this in powerlifting competitions. You can see this in things of I want to be able to lift a certain amount, or I want to be able to move or lift my body in a certain way, whether it's doing things explosively or whether it's doing things for a long period of time. People who do American Ninja Warrior and stuff like that, they train for endurance. So they can continue holding a stimulus for a elongated period of time. Where exactly am I going with all of this? Well, you'll see. That's the beauty. Now, as Ocelot asked, what is the point? Why am I saying all of this? Well, the reason why I'm saying all of this is because a lot of times when you go to the gym, people will do workouts with the expectation to hit one of these three goals, but they're not doing the workouts that they need to hit those three things. Maybe you want to look more aesthetically pleasing, okay? Doing functional training is it's helpful, but if your goal is for pure aesthetic, you're not going to get that aesthetic chiseled look that you're looking for in the first place, okay? if your goal is to be functional, doing a bunch of like explosive strength and workouts to like improve like the way you look isn't going to help you do your day-to-day tasks. And then again, if you're trying to get explosive strength, lift heavier things, and like, or like improve your endurance, training for aesthetics and functional training may not be the best way for you. And that goes back to what I'm saying. Like, every time you go to the gym and every time you do a workout, or every time you do a workout in general, there has to be a purpose as to why you're doing it. I feel like a lot of times people like get workout programs or buy workout programs or see workouts that look cool and not understand the purpose of the workouts that they're doing. So you'll go to the gym, you'll do your workouts, and then you'll just be done. And then like you won't hit those goals that you're trying to achieve, right? When it comes to aesthetic-based training, if you're trying to build aesthetics, it depends. Well, it depends mainly on what you're trying to build aesthetically. If you want a six-pack, that's mostly nutrition. That's generally nutrition. That's a low body fat percentage. Again, and also if you're trying to build like bigger biceps, you know, make your chest peek out a little bit, you might want to do some more hypertrophy training. And hypertrophy is basically just building up to break your muscle fibers down and have them build up stronger. So like doing like bicep curls for like, I don't know, like 12 to 15 reps with like minimum rest will be like a great way to like build up your biceps, and or like is a good example. Functional training, if you're trying to build up, like if you're just trying to get to the day-to-day tasks, again, it just depends on what tasks you're trying to doing. Maybe you're doing lifting, like maybe you're doing a lot of heavy lifting, and maybe you don't want to like injure or compromise like your back and stuff like that. Then like doing like proper like deadlifting or lifting workouts or carrying workouts like farmers carries and stuff like that, that can help you with your functional training. And then like when it comes to strength and explosive training, regardless of whether you're trying to be in like a powerlifting competition or whether you're just trying to just lift heavier weights, if you want to lift heavier weights, you have to lift heavy. So you have to lift heavy. Like a good 3 to 5 rep range is a good heavy lifting like workouts, right? Those like your main workouts should be those 3 to 5 sets. And then you just try to increase weight every week or every other week. And those should be the basis of your training, right? So basically, the purpose of your workouts should be trying to achieve those goals that you're trying to achieve. And generally, this is what people are trying to go for, right? I'm not talking about like rehabilitation or anything like that. That's outside of anything that I know specifically. But like generally, the people that I've encountered, these are the 3 things that they're trying to do, like time and time again. They either want to look better, they want to function better, or they want to get stronger. And there's nothing wrong. I feel like I'm in gym class. Well, you know what? They don't teach you this in gym class. Well, you know what they do? All they teach you in like health classes. Oh yeah, you know, eat healthy and stuff. It's just like, you know, just in case, you know, you never know. Like, I think that like you can have all of this, right? But like working, every time you work on something, right, it takes time. Okay, so like it's gonna take time to achieve all of this. And if you're like really balanced, you aren't gonna be, what's the word I'm looking for? If you lean into one, another one suffers in the sense of like, if you're training strength, like strictly for strength training, if you're trying to get strong as fast as possible, you're gonna have to cut out some of this stuff. Not saying that like I said, they all kind of bleed into each other, right? Like if you're lifting heavier, you're naturally just gonna build muscle, right? Muscle is a byproduct of strength, right? So the heavier you lift, it's just obvious that you have muscle, right? So like that can build into aesthetics, right? If you're lifting heavier, if you're doing heavier weights, if you're doing weighted pull-ups, your back would look nicer because you're doing heavier weighted pull-ups and stuff like that. Functional training can build into like strength and like some aesthetics. So like if you're doing every day, like let's say your like job involves heavy lifting and you're doing functional training to like lift things up and like stuff like that. I mean, you can build muscle from doing that. And you can also look pretty aesthetically pleasing doing that as well. But I'm just saying one suffers, like others suffer every time you lean into one. Like when I started training, I started training strictly for aesthetic purposes. That's when I started training. I did not like how I looked. I did not like the way my body looked, and I did not feel comfortable in my own skin. So I trained literally for, I literally started training with the expectation to look like a buff ass like character in a movie or an anime character. That's why I trained. Aesthetics. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to look great. I wanted to look awesome. I wanted to feel awesome. That's why I started. But like focusing on the aesthetics, what ended up happening was my functional and my strength training took a little bit of a hit because I was working more on my nutrition. I'm trying to get like a 6-pack. Right now I'm actually focusing on doing a 6-pack, and that's a purely aesthetic goal. You know, I'm trying to get to a certain like body fat percentage. So like by doing that, my strength training takes a hit because the most optimal way for strength training is eating a lot and, you know, lifting heavy. But like because I'm restricting how much I eat, I'm not going to be building as much strength. And actually, I might be losing some strength in the process, right? It's all a give and take. And the reason why I'm saying this is because you need to understand what your goal is. If you're trying to look aesthetically pleasing, then some of this stuff might not matter to you. I think functional training is very important in the sense of like, you know, it's good to be functional for your day-to-day, and you can add like sprinkle some of that on there. But like if your main goal is to look like the freaking anime character of your dreams, then it doesn't really matter. Like, right? Like it's all about what your goals are. If your goal isn't functional training, you're not going to do functional training anyways. If your goal isn't strength training, you're not going to do strength training anyways. But if you're trying to look good, there are workouts that you can use strictly for the purpose of looking good. And strength training can help you look good. It just depends on what your goals are, which is why I said it's very important to know what your goals are. If you know what your goals are, you can do whatever you want. And then the beauty of knowing what your goals are, your workouts will start having meaning. Every workout you do will get you towards that goal, and every workout that you try to attempt, or every workout that you might want to try to attempt, you know that it'll help you look A, more aesthetically pleasing, B, it might help you with functionality, or C, it'll help you get stronger and increase your endurance. So that's why it's very important that we figure out what you want to do. Okay, these are the destinations, and then the workouts you're doing are the compass to help you reach those destinations.